Welcome to the Estie Bestie Tea Time, where you get to sip on the hot tea that I am spilling, Athena, aka the Estie Bestie. I'm going to be sharing ins and outs and woes and foes, how to be successful as a solo beautypreneur. You're going to see some guest speakers on board with this podcast, and we are going to be changing the industry one tiny sip at a time. Welcome. Welcome to episode 3. We are going to be talking about major aesthetics events and what we see as individuals that are attendees. And I'm also going to give you insight to the vendor, sponsor, and speaker side because I have done all 4 of them. 2022 and 2023 was a wild year escapade, I want to say, for business, for Bestie, because I took a step back, but I delved into the beauty industry from my permanent jewelry business side and learned so much and met so many people and faced so many adversities when it came to events, vendors, sponsorship, those types of things that I got a totally different perspective on from being an attendee to the other side of it. So let's get into it. A major thing in the aesthetics industry is attending events. Today, we're going to talk about attending events as an attendee, as a speaker, as a vendor, and as a sponsor. There are 4 different ways you can attend events. And for me, I enjoy being a speaker and an attendee, as well as sometimes speaking arrangements come with being a sponsor or come with a booth to be a vendor at. And we're going to get into the difference between all of those. And then we're going to get into the back end of how people get selected or asked to attend these types of events, because it is sometimes an invite only, which is, it makes you feel a little bit special. But at the end of the day, when you see the back end of it, you're like, they're really not special. But anyways, here we go. We're going to talk about attending as an attendee, as a ticket holder. So when you're a ticket holder, when you go to an event, it's such a different perspective because you have the freedom to go around, travel to different booths, try different products. You get to meet up with your friends and you get to stay in a hotel, even if it's like out of town or something like that. Like, it's fun. Vending events and like major events in the aesthetics industry as a ticket holder are super fun. I personally have been to a few. I've been to IESC, I always say this wrong, IECSE in Orlando and in, I want to say, north of Miami, Palm Beach. Is that what it was? I don't know. I've been to PMU World Live in Miami. I've been to AAM PMU in California. I've been to UK PMU conference over in London. And let me just tell you, I loved attending events as a ticket holder because I got to actually hear everybody speaking. I got to experience the room. It's seeing how people are educated and they're also taking in the information that these speakers are providing to them. And I also get to like mingle and make some friends while I'm there. One of my very, very best friends that I met this last year, and like I'm telling you, she's like a heart of gold. I met Tracy, who is the creator of PMUku, and she's known as Nurse Tracy on Instagram. She's also become one of my master trainers for my permanent jewelry course. But I met her at AAM PMU and we were both sponsors. Now, Tracy and I have attended multiple events in the last year as ticket holders, as well as sponsors and vendors and speakers. And we've seen the ins and outs. I personally have seen the ins and outs of the business workings behind it. So like as a ticket holder, when you go to an event, you get to have like the best time, in my opinion. You get to feel the room, you get to see all the speakers, you get all the goodies, and you get to shop. And there's no pressure. I mean, yeah, you spent a little bit on your ticket, but you didn't spend like thousands of dollars like these vendors sometimes do. And that's another thing that we're going to get into as well. We're going to really, really deep dive into the cost of being a vendor, a sponsor, and even a speaker, because let me just tell you, just because someone's speaking does not mean that they didn't pay to be up on that stage. A lot of these events are pay to play. You pay for a ticket. Sometimes these people pay to be there as speakers just to get in front, to get that validation, to get that content, to then market it back to you so that you buy from them. It's, I don't know, it's just like something that I feel like people don't talk about, but it's so, so true. So let's talk about it. So the next way to attend an event is as a vendor or a sponsor. A vendor is someone who pays to have a table set up for them to be able to sell to the people that have bought tickets to attending the event. A vendor is a very valid way to attend events and get exposure for your brand and for your products. And I think it's highly, highly more into the marketing aspect of things. And you have to actually you have to know how to be a vendor. You can't just go wing it. Like, you have to know how to be a vendor. You have to know how to capture these people that want to buy your products right then and there or within the next 3 days after that. So, you have to really, really work. You are working that booth from sun up to sundown, from setup to takedown. And vendors sometimes have to pay fees of, I've paid fees of $1,800 and I've been asked to pay a fee of $20,000 to attend an event. It just depends on what events and vendors' spots are available. So if you look at these huge events, sometimes booths, tables, travel, all of that, loss of business while you're at these events, you have to calculate all these things in, can cost you around 10 grand a piece. For me, I can tell you, when I traveled for my first sponsor event, which was a vendor sponsor split. So you sponsored the event, but you also got a vending table, which was nice. I spent around, I want to say $12,000 for tickets, hotel, car rental, product delivery, booth setup, babysitter for the whole week for 2 kids. And then as well as I had to coordinate all of that, I had to pay for my babysitter's flight to come down. I had to pay for the time, watching my kids. So vending events can be super, super expensive. And then you get to mingle and make a rapport with the other people who are vending. So when you're an attendee, yeah, you get to meet everybody at every event, but you're not sitting there working next to them, standing next to them every single day. And I can tell you, as a vendor or sponsor, it matters who you're next to and what relationships you build, because you're going to most likely see these people again. And you are most likely going to want to collaborate with the people that you connect with because you're in the same industry, right? So when you're a vendor or a sponsor, you kind of get access to higher level and higher positioned people within the industry. And that's important. And when you want to start to grow and to scale and make those connections and invite people onto podcasts and make a rapport with them, you really, 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 really get to know the person next to you. At events, when you are not a vendor and you're a ticket holder, you get to go and hang out with estheticians or cosmos or whoever's at the event, PMU artists. You get to go and hang out with them. You might go out for a drink after. You might go to the pool with them. You might, get to know them on a friendly level. Whereas when you go and you attend as a sponsor and as a vendor, you are building relationships at the professional level. And that brings me to the professional level. Once you get there, once you get inside that door, and I didn't know this before I was a vendor, I didn't know people paid every single time to be there. I thought they were invited and they were offered the opportunity to be there. I thought speakers were just there because they were invited to be a speaker and they were the ones that people wanted to hear speak. I had no idea that some of these speakers pay to speak in front of people. And when I learned that, I was like, wow, the veil has lifted on the exclusivity of the industry, and it is a pay-to-play game, and it started to make so much more sense. It started to make so much more sense to me as having been in the industry, trying to get my products out there, trying to build a brand for the Estie Bestie, and also, my permanent jewelry business, which was Flash Infuse, is Flash Infuse permanent jewelry training program. I got to see, I was like, wow, okay, so half of the speakers, actually probably like 90% of the speakers are people who have vending spots and tables. So the people that have spots and pay for vending tables sometimes get offered the opportunity to speak as well. Whereas there's also some people who get to a point where they are paid to speak. So let's not get that twisted. So 90% of people pay to speak, pay to have a vending booth, pay to sponsor, and then that gives them an opportunity to go speak on stage, right? And that's a good way to get in front of the audience and position yourself as somebody who has authority and influence and insight in the industry, whether it be from branding to products to whatever topic you're asked to speak on. That's another thing. You might not get to talk about what you want to talk about. You might be given a list of things that you can talk about, and then pick one. And then we'll even talk about that too, because I've had to do that before where I've been given an opportunity to speak and I was given a couple different options of topics I could speak on. And then I had to actually present my presentation beforehand for them to approve it, for me to be able to go on stage and speak about it. But that's neither here nor there. So one thing that I did learn is this is why we keep seeing the same people at every single event, is these people pay a vending and sponsor fee, and they're given the opportunity to go speak on stage. What that means is they've paid to play. They've paid to be there. They've paid to be in front of you. They have paid to take their time to sell your products, which one, they're hopeful that they are going to make their booth fee back, their vending spot, their sponsor fee back, right? They're hoping that they are going to build a relationship with you and then also be able to use this content for social media and marketing to prove that they are leaders in the industry. That is one thing that I've noticed, like, as well in the PMU industry. Like, as soon as somebody is able to get on stage, they can now say that they are a international speaker. And I giggle because, I've done a couple speaking arrangements in the last year, and I by no means consider myself an international speaker or educator. I just consider myself the Estie Bestie and Flash Infuse. Like, I know what I know, and I share what I know, and I like being on stage so that I can help other people learn about what I'm speaking about, period. And I'm sure that's what everyone else feels too, but I don't go back and I don't say like, oh, I'm an international speaker. I don't use that as leverage to boost my business, to make it seem like I'm bigger and better than I actually am. And that's one thing that kind of gives me the ick about this industry is like, we don't know this, we don't know these things until we are offered an opportunity to pay to play. And that's how my first opportunity came about. So I was offered an opportunity to pay to play, to have a vending space, a vending table, and sponsor an event. I was like, absolutely, that's so cool. I'd love to be there. And then it was like, okay, well, it's going to be, $1,800, $2,000, $2,500, whatever it was. I know what it was. I'm just not going to tell you. But it was above $1,800, right? And so I was like, okay, I mean, that's fine. Like, I can make that back while I'm there, as long as I get to like speak to people and, sell my product or sell my course and just get to know people. But the thing is, like, if you don't get that opportunity, if you don't get that invite, or you don't ask for that opportunity, and that's another key thing too, you can always ask. Ask for these opportunities. Some of them are invite only, others are askable. And that's another thing that I realized like I was limiting myself on, is that just because I waited for an invite, and of course I said yes because it's an opportunity, I wanted to learn how the ins and outs worked from the back end. I needed to. I was at that point in my business and just in my life and in the beauty industry. But like once you start seeing how things work and you make connections with people and you network and you get to know these people, the other vendors that are there, most of these vendors are going to do multiple events in the same year. So you can ask them and be like, hey, what other events are you going to? They'll tell you, and you can get a contact, or you can reach out and say, hey, are you looking for other vendors? I'd like to blah, blah, blah. And this is my budget. Or what's your sponsor fee? Or what's your vendor fee? Or do you have any speaking spots available? This is the topic that I am very well educated on, and present your topic. It's almost like you can pitch them, but you don't know that you can pitch them because you never had the experience and knew that it was an option. So that's a lot of stuff that I kind of figured out in the last year, of being a sponsor, being a vendor, being a speaker, and then even just attending from events. But I think it's super important to know that when you see these people on stage, you should be considering, are they paid to play? Do they pay to play? And is their content valuable? Do you vibe with them on a business level? Or are they full of crap and they have enough money to get up on stage and woo everybody with a 10-15 minute performance? Sometimes it's really hard to tell the difference. Sometimes it's just really good person up there on stage and they had a really great opportunity and they're just smashing it and they're doing so well. It is something that you have to take into consideration when you're attending these events. Whenever I go and I attend an event as an attendee, I always look at the speaker lineup. I look at the lineup, I look at the topics, I look at the materials that are going to be provided from those people, i.e., the speakers, and then I also look at the sponsors. For me, knowing what I know from this industry and having worked with a lot of people and around a lot of people at that level in this industry, I have personally been exposed to things that I really, really like and enjoy, and also things that I would absolutely just avoid because of affiliation. And that's something that you learn as you attend events, as you become a speaker, as you start to sell products and you become a vendor and a sponsor. And these are just things that you learn as like, not as a new Estie or a new cause or a new PMU artist. Like these are things that you learn as you get to the point of like 4, 5, 6 years into business. Okay. These are not things that I even knew about like 4 years ago. I just thought, oh my gosh, they're so amazing. They're going to be speaking at this event. They're just donating all their time. Not only are they donating their time, they're paying to be there. And there was always some questions of like, well, I wish I could really see this person speak. And it would be like somebody that I follow or somebody that I, talk business with or things like that. And they would never speak. They would never do any of these types of events. And then I would just see other people just get in front of them in their career trajectory because they were going to these events, because they were paying to play, because they were getting in front of these people, because they were attending events, making those networking connections. And I never thought at any point, could that be me, until I was presented with an opportunity and I said yes to it. That opened the door and lifted the veil on a completely different side of the beauty business industry and the beauty entrepreneurship industry, especially for aesthetics and PMU in that industry, that I didn't know I needed to know. So I'm happy to share all the tea with you guys. I hope that you have an opportunity to learn for yourself in every single aspect of attending events. I hope you have an amazing time at your next event. I hope that if you do become a vendor and a speaker, and even if you are paying to play, you make the most out of it and you provide really, really, really good information and you stay genuine and you work with integrity and you have ethics when you're functioning at every type of business level that you achieve. So yeah. So that's the tea. That's the tea on events for me. And I hope to see you in the next episode 4. And I'll give you a little sneaky peeky on what the topic's going to be on my Instagram at the Estie Bestie. Talk to you guys soon.